Yes, you read the title correctly. I'm going to be making my own comic. This is a project I've had in mind since 2022, and I started writing the first, initial draft back then, and I made some pages to start the first act. However, I eventually got overwhelmed by the amount of work it would take and trying to balance it with other things, so I gave up on it. But I'm starting it up again, and will definitely be finishing it this time. Some of you may have saw in my community tab already, but this is looking like what the cover for one of the issues, or just the, the full issue book will look like a volume type thing. This is pretty much the final design for the character's superhero outfit, I guess. And I've seen a lot of comments saying he looks like Moon Knight. The inspiration for the suit did come from Moon Knight, because Moon Knight's one of my favorite characters. However, I've tried to make this design so many different times, and I think this one is the least one that looks like Moon Knight, so I'm really not sure where the whole Moon Knight thing is coming from anymore. I don't know what else I could do to make it separate except changing the color palette, and I don't really want to change the color palette. But anyways, I'm gonna try and explain the premise of the story without spoiling anything, even though it's gonna be kind of hard. But essentially the premise is two kids, one named Jax and the other named Jinx, are living in a very rundown neighborhood, and they're creating this programmable matter technology in an attempt to sell it so that they can move out of the place that they're around and the place they live in. The government as a whole in this world is very corrupt, and a lot of the places in the US are very run down, but there are a few places where people can get out. But the tech that Jax and Jinx are making creates ethical problems with Jax's own family, as his mother is opposed to what he is doing. And Jinx starts living with Jax and his mother due to the fact that she can't live or be around her father anymore. Her father became a raging, abusive alcoholic after Jinx's mother died, and essentially Jinx wants the same thing that Jax wants in making this technology. As far as antagonists go, there is an overruling kingpin of the city in which Jax lives that causes a lot of the conflict within the story, but he's mostly a background catalyst to be explained further. But the kingpin is the catalyst for the real main antagonist of the story, whose goal is to wipe out all criminals and take over the city for change. Kinda similar to Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. However, his plan is a lot different, his backstory is a lot different, and his motives and morals are a lot different. But the main antagonist has a lot to be explored within the story, as well as stuff like his backstory. I don't know if I explained the premise in the best way possible for the story, but once again, there's a lot of details that I don't want to add because it kind of just spoils things. But how will I be releasing this comic? I can't promise the full comic, the actual comic, will be out anytime soon, but I'm going to be posting consistent updates consisting of early comic panels, concept art, early viewings of the script for each act, so basically you will all know the story by the time I'm ready to start the drawing process, as well as insight on the writing choices that I made and the process of the writing process and the drawing process when I'm done writing the full story out. Kind of like a Q&A, but how will you be able to get all these things? Well, everything I just listed will be available on my Patreon, which will be in the description, and my Patreon is only $2. I know a couple of you already support me on there, and I thank you a lot. But with all that said, the first act of the story is out right now. It is still the first draft, so it may be subject to change as I continue writing the story out. It's pretty set in stone to be what it's gonna be, but I can't promise that it won't, I won't have slight changes within there. This is also a script made for a comic, so some things will come across better when I can actually add the visual storytelling. I have the general outlines for everything laid out, but I'm still working on the execution of the story, as well as practicing my artwork to try and make the art for the comic look better. And of course, I have to make videos too. But yeah, that's pretty much all the info and stuff that I wanted to talk about with this. Make sure to join my Discord for more continuous updates. And if you do support me on Patreon and decide to, express interest in going into this comic, all you gotta do is connect your Patreon account to your Discord account so that you can stay updated in my Discord, which will also be in the description. I'm gonna continue working hard on this. I hope you all enjoy the first act. Things will only get more interesting, and yeah.